On the Rocks, Quinnipiac's first bar is opening this Saturday. Find out more about how the university is preparing and what the bar will include. And the opening of the production R.A.G.E. is this Thursday. The play aims to address gun violence and much more. And the School of Communications is celebrating 20 years. Find out just how they're celebrating. All this and more coming up next on the Q30 Newscast. Hello and welcome to the Q30 Newscast. I'm Kaylee Heffler. To start off tonight, we have exciting news about the New York Hill Pub. On the Rocks, Quinnipiac's new pub is set to open at 5 p.m. this Saturday. Students 21 and older will be let in this time with a valid Q card and ID. The new pub will be located in the Rocky Top Student Center on the York Hill campus, opening just in time for the Yale vs. Quinnipiac men's hockey game. Students under 21 can attend a viewing party in the piazza on the Mount Carmel campus for the game on Friday. On Friday, a ribbon-cutting ceremony will take place in Rocky Top at 11 a.m. to celebrate the opening. At the ceremony, students will be able to sample menu items and get an inside look at the space. The space will be used for events both 21 plus and under 21. At the under 21 events, alcohol will not be served. Those 21 and over will be able to enjoy a variety of wines, beers, seltzers, and ciders. The pub can accommodate up to 150 people and will have a variety of seating, pool tables, shuffleboards, and a stage for live performances. Quinnipiac is now offering a trade-in program to get a Beat Yale shirt for the big game. If you trade in your old shirts, pants, hats, and more, you will get a free Beat Yale shirt and stickers. The trade-in has been happening all week and students can continue turning in their old clothes throughout the week. Still on the topic of Yale, the Yale vs. Quinnipiac men's ice hockey game is sold out for this Saturday. Tickets were sold out quickly this past Sunday when they went live. For students attending, make sure to wear gold as the theme for the game is a gold rush. Q30 is celebrating its Day of Miracles today. As the largest fundraising day of the year, Day of Miracles aims to raise more than $60,000 within 24 hours. Fun activities are held throughout the day, followed by Minute to Miracles tonight in the Burt Con at 9 p.m. This will be a series of friendly competition, minute to win it style games. There can be teams of 2 to 6 and it is $20 per team. It is $3 to spectate for non-registered dancers and free for registered dancers. The Quinnipiac Catholic Chaplaincy is offering Ash Wednesday services today. Distribution of the ashes are on both the Mount Carmel campus and the North Haven campus. Services are being offered at different times through 6:30 p.m. today. If you're on the Mount Carmel campus, you can get your ashes by the chapel over by the College of Arts and Sciences. Quinnipiac's spring production R.A.G.E. opens Thursday. There will be shows from Thursday to Sunday at various times. The production addresses gun violence in school as well as mental health and sexual assault. Skylar Hain has more.
I'm sure people are going to see this show and have encountered some of the messages that it's talking about, or some of the horrible encounters that the show portrays. People are going to relate to that and feel it, and some won't, but I have a feeling that a lot of people will. And for the people that do, relate to the show and understand the stories that it's telling on a personal level, the goal is just for them to feel like they're not alone and that they can talk about their stories and not be afraid to speak up about what's going on in their lives.
I'm hoping that people take away the idea that you should be compassionate toward everyone that you encounter, because really, if people had shown love and empathy and shown that they care about the people who do these things and who do other heinous things, then the odds that they would have done those things are so much slimmer.
The Albert Schweitzer Institute hosted Reducing Inequalities for the Homeless in Connecticut at the United Nations on February 20th. This year's sessions focused on housing and social inclusion of those experiencing homelessness. Sean Duffy, professor of political science and executive director of the Albert Schweitzer Institution, and Tracy Van Oss, clinical professor of occupational therapy, presented on the value of civil partnerships. Coming up after the break, a Connecticut Supreme Court justice comes to speak at Quinnipiac. Plus, the School of Communication celebrates their 20th anniversary. But before we go, Rico DiFranzo has your 3-day weather forecast. Rico?
That's right. So coming up tonight, we're going to keep the clouds around, start with a little bit of rain. Tomorrow, it's going to be partly cloudy again, but we're going to keep the warmer weather. I'll have the rest of the week coming up in just a few minutes.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool. To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
Last night, Quinnipiac hosted its Black History Month dinner with special guest, Connecticut Supreme Court Chief Justice Richard Robertson. Kay Pattyfort has more on the event.
Connecticut Supreme Court Chief Justice Richard Robinson spoke at Quinnipiac's Black History Month dinner February 25th. Chief Justice Robinson is the first Black Chief Justice for the state of Connecticut. Some advice you would give to students of color pursuing law are:
stay active. Get active. If you're not active, get active in your community. The reason why I was noticed is because I was out there volunteering for different committees and boards and things like that.
Doing this can open up different opportunities as it did for him.
And so I started to work on these things. For example, one was a committee that was studying the racial disparity of Black juveniles in our system. And because I was doing that work, the governor noticed it, and the governor asked me to become a judge.
Throughout the evening, Chief Justice Robinson spoke about being alive from when Emmett Till was murdered to seeing Barack Obama become elected as president. Don Sawyer, the Associate Vice President and Chief Diversity Officer, moderated the conversation with him.
I hope the students were able to see themselves in his story, because one of the things that I said when I was talking to him after hearing his story was, the idea that your current situation doesn't necessarily dictate where you're going to end up.
In the audience, there were students, President Olian, and other faculty and staff members. One thing to take away from this dinner was that everyone should be getting involved in one way or another. For Q30 News, I'm Kay Pattyfoot. Connecticut Supreme Court
Chief Justice
Chief Justice
Communications is celebrating its 20th anniversary. The school, which opened in 2000, has provided countless opportunities for their students over the last 20 years. Dylan Abad has more.
Quinnipiac School of Communications has been keeping its students at the cutting edge of technology for more than 2 decades. And to celebrate, it's taking a walk down memory lane. When the School of Communications was founded in 2000, it promised students the best in multimedia journalism. And that meant staying at the cutting edge of technology.
We were one of the first universities in the nation through its School of Communications to have a high-definition television studio. The visitors from many schools came here to look and marvel at the technological wonder that we had installed here in terms of our high-definition television capacity.
Students learned cutting-edge features like incorporating text alongside a video, things that are now possible on our smartphones.
I would say that of all the schools in the United States, the School of Communications at Quinnipiac University was clearly a leader in the transition to an all-digital presentation of content.
Now, more than 20 years later, that drive continues. Today, the School of Communications gives access to industry-standard equipment, and students are more than willing to learn and explore.
You're able to shadow in all different roles to figure out exactly what you want to do. And if we didn't have a studio like this, I don't think it'd be as easy to try out those different roles.
It's easier for students to create things that they think of that they didn't think they could create like days and days in the past.
At the peak of the School of Communications prominence, a visiting professor from the University of Columbia saw Quinnipiac's technological progress.
She came in as a guest speaker to one of my colleagues' classes. She saw what our students were doing. She was introduced to me, and she said, "You're light years ahead of us." I said, "Damn right we are, and we'll always be light years ahead of you. Good luck catching up."
While it's unclear what the next 20 years will hold, the School of Communications will undoubtedly continue to carry its technological swagger. Reporting for Q30 News, I'm Dylan Abad.
Today is Rare Disease Day. Rare disease is observed to raise awareness for rare diseases and improve access to treatment. The day is also observed to increase medical representation for people with rare diseases and their family. Really for Life's kickoff event was this past Monday. The Disney-themed event, being hosted much earlier this year, was aimed at showing it is never too early to start fundraising because cancer is an everyday disease. The actual Relay for Life event will take place later in the fall.
All right, so say your first last name, spell it out.
Wait, sorry, am I spelling my
Starbucks temporarily closed yesterday afternoon. An email from Quinnipiac Dining was sent out stating, quote, "Hi Quinnipiac community, Starbucks is temporarily closed due to facility issues. We hope to reopen shortly. Thank you for your patience," end quote. Starbucks opened back up later in the day. Well, now it is time for our popular political news stories. This week included President Trump visiting in India. Ethan McCabe is in studio with more on how it went. Ethan?
Thank you. Since taking office in 2017, Donald Trump went to India for the first time. In his first visit, the former businessman stated, quote, "The First Lady and I have traveled 1,000 miles around the globe to deliver a message to every citizen across the nation. America loves India, America represents India, and America will always be faithful and loyal to friends, to the Indian people," end quote. Trump was also there to announce the deal he was going to make. The $3 billion deal would send state-of-the-art military helicopters to the country. Switching gears to the presidential race, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who announced his campaign last February, won Nevada in a landslide vote. Sanders stated in a tweet, quote, "If we stand for justice, if we stand for compassion, if we understand that we are in this together, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. Thank you, Nevada," end quote. Sanders took home 24 delegates for a total of 45 delegates. After just 3 states, numerous media outlets have declared Sanders a frontrunner in the Democratic race. In 3 days will be the South Carolina primary, and next Tuesday, March 3rd, will be Super Tuesday. Staying with politics, it has not been all fun and games for Bernie Sanders. The Democratic debate occurred just last night, and Sanders got drilled. The 10th Democratic debate of the race, Sanders took the heat. Among the topics that were debated was focusing on primary runs, particularly Joe Biden. And the coronavirus was the subject of matter as well. It was a heated debate that will surely continue to the next Democratic face-off will be held. It will be held on March 15th in Phoenix, and with Super Tuesday nearing, it will surely be a wild ride. Coming from politics, I'm Ethan McCabe. Back to you, Kaylee.
Thanks, Ethan. Coming up after the break, we will have a full weather report for you, and Hepzibah Rajan is here to give us a national news update. Stay with us.
1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother, you, your football buddy, your football buddy, you, the boss's boss. If 1 in 3 adults has pre-diabetes, that means it could be you, your barber, your barber's barber.
Nice work.
Thanks. You, your plumber,
Breathe right into your foot.
your plumber's masseuse.
Yes.
You, your dog walker,
On your left.
your cat jogger. Or you, your co-pilot, your co-pilot's co-pilot. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand.
Sure, I look cute now, but when my owner lost his job, it was rough. I was living on the street, and one night, me and this Cocker Spaniel got into it so bad, I wound up looking like an ice cream cone. I cried a little bit, but thankfully I got rescued, so I'm running, I'm jumping, all back to my old self, and I'm ready to give unconditional love, even if you put a lampshade on my head.
Rico is now here to give us an update on what's been happening with the weather.
Thanks, Kaylee. So starting off with the 7-day forecast for the upcoming week. We try to keep the warm weather around to start off, but then you can see it drops come this weekend. We keep the clouds, get 1 day of sun before we end off the week with a little bit of rain, coming back up to the 50s. And then right now, temperatures in Connecticut. Right now, temperatures in Connecticut, you can see right around New London, 50, Norwich, 50, Hartford, 47, New Haven, 49. Generally warm across the board. Let's hope this is a good sign for spring. Kaylee, back to you.
Thanks, Rico. A lot has been going on in the country nationally and countrywide. One thing that has been going on a lot is the coronavirus. As of right now, multiple schools have withdrawn students from study abroad programs, and it is expected that Quinnipiac will release a statement on what they plan to do with their students, specifically in Italy, excuse me. Hepzibah Rajan is now in the studio to tell us more about what is happening with the coronavirus and the Harvey Weinstein's convictions. Hepzibah?
Thank you, Kelly. There has been a recent update about a vaccine in the works for the coronavirus. U.S. biotech firm Moderna shipped an experimental vaccine for the coronavirus to U.S. governmental researchers only 6 weeks after the immunization began working. Moderna put out a statement saying they sent the first round of vaccines to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and trials could begin as early as the beginning of April. The first vials of the vaccine will be experimented on a small group of humans with no contact to the disease. Director of NIAID, Anthony Fauci, said it would be the first step to making this vaccine available for anyone. However, meanwhile in North Milan, authorities have been struggling to contain an outbreak that has already infected 325 people. As the illness spreads, health officials believe that it will reach the U.S., but they do not know when. Harvey Weinstein will be facing 25 years in prison and still faces charges for assaulting women back in 2015. The New York Times released a story back in 2017 about the first woman to report sexual assault allegations against him. At least 80 women have come forward since the actress Rose McGowan, one of the first women to speak out against Harvey, said, quote, "The little girl I was when I was hurt, she's ecstatic. This is a great day." End quote. Weinstein will be sentenced on March 11th and still faces rape and sexual assault charges from 2 women in Los Angeles. Lastly, the college admission scandals is still not over. The Hot Pockets heiress was sentenced to 5 months in prison and a $250,000 fine after paying $300,000 to get an advantage by cheating or fraud. Michelle Genovese admitted she was guilty along with the other parents involved. She was looking at a 21-month sentence by the federal prosecutors in Boston, but was given a lower sentence. The U.S. District Judge Nathaniel Gorton said she was, quote, "deliberately corrupting the college admission system," end quote, despite receiving the lower sentence. That is all I have in national news today. Back to you, Kaylee.
Thanks, Hepzibah. Coming up after the break, R.A.G.E is here with your full entertainment update and find out more about a popular activity in Connecticut during this time. Stay with us.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
Welcome back from the break. The entertainment world has always been busy, and Sean R.A.G.E is here to tell us all about it. Sean?
I hope you have your passport because my first story comes in from Toronto, Canada. In a game between the Carolina Hurricanes and Toronto Maple Leafs, Zamboni driver David Ayres took to guarding the cage instead of cleaning the ice when both Hurricanes goalies were forced out due to injury. He stopped 8 consecutive shots to secure the win against the team that employs him. The 42-year-old has become a bit of a celebrity in the hockey world and has even made appearances on The Today Show and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. The day after his first win in his first career game, he was back on the ice skating with some of the Maple Leafs. Jumping back to America, Los Angeles specifically, former Bachelorette contestant Chad Johnson was accused and arrested of robbery and domestic violence. The arrest came following alleged arguments between Johnson and his girlfriend, Annalise Mishler. According to Mishler's legal representative, quote, a neighbor called the police after claiming to hear and see an alleged altercation involving a man pounding on a door and screaming profanities, end quote. Bachelor Nation may remember him from trying to fight literally everyone and being kicked off of Bachelor in Paradise. His bail was set at $100,000. Now I'm very excited for this final story. Lucasfilm has announced its plan to launch Star Wars: The High Republic in 2020. The news stories will be set in the Star Wars galaxy, but set 200 years prior to the events of The Phantom Menace. The state of the galaxy in the High Republic, which was previously referred to as Project Luminous, will be right as the Galactic Republic and Jedi Order is at the peak of its prominence. The timeline will not have any crossover with any of the filmed features or current productions. The first books and comics are set to debut at Star Wars Celebration Anaheim in August 2020. That's my entertainment update. Let's go back to the desk.
Thanks, Sean. With the warmer weather approaching, a seasonal activity is starting back up. It is very popular to go bird watching around this time in Connecticut. Luca Triant has more.
Make sure you got your instructions out.
It's a chilly Saturday morning where everyone is dressed head to toe in warm clothing. Despite these frigid conditions, the people are braving the cold for one reason: to see the variety of birds along the Connecticut River. Their hope? To see a bald eagle, one of the biggest birds of prey in the region.
Most of the people that come are not really experienced birders, so it's a great way to introduce people to birds outside, you know, and what's around in their own backyard, so to speak. Every once in a while you get somebody, well, often you get people that decide, well, hey, this is a cool hobby, I think I'll pursue this.
Bird watchers who attended the trip found themselves in multiple locations along the Connecticut River, from Eagle Landing State Park to historical landmarks such as Chester Ferry. However, for one bird watcher, being outside and seeing the plentiful nature that surrounds the river was one big part in going out to see the birds.
For me, it's very therapeutic. I grew up outside back in the 50s and 60s, and we spent a lot of time outside as children. And it gets us away from the screens. We get to commune with nature, and I've always been a bird lover, so this is just another opportunity to see very big birds, like the eagles.
While it may have been cold, and it may have taken a long time, for these patient bird watchers, the wait is always worth it in the end. Out on the Connecticut River, Luca Triant, Q30 News.
Well, that is definitely an activity I will have to look into more. And unfortunately, that is all the time we have for this week's newscast. Be sure to check out all of our content on Q30TV.com and check out our Twitter at Q30 News for all your news updates. For everyone behind the scenes, I'm Kaylee Heffler. See you next week, Bobcats.